Hey guys, welcome to another garage video. Um, in this one, I'm just going to cover my cooling system because I had a few questions about it, and I thought I'd just give you the rundown of how I've got it set up in the generally hot climate that I live in. So I live on the east coast of Australia, and it can get up to about 40 odd degrees Celsius in summer. So, but in winter it can get down to about zero at night. So, I had to sort of make something work that could deal with that kind of a temperature range. So when I bought the car, it had heating issues originally. It was because the head had a problem, but in trying to fix that, I did the old trial and error, and it needed a new radiator anyway. So I just did all the little things first to try and get it to run cool and run the way get it at the temperature I wanted it to before I did the head. But that ended up all working out really well for me in the long run. So I started with a new radiator. It had the factory NA radiator in it, I believe, and that just didn't work. So when I first bought the car, I changed it out for just an eBay spec 50 or 53 mil radiator. And the first one I had it's a Worley brand. It worked alright, but I left it sitting out when I was rebuilding everything, and I actually cracked one of the welds on the side up here from moving it around. But that one had the inlet was flat with the top of this. The new version is raised, so it makes it a lot easier to bleed. It's still annoying as hell to bleed a 2J, but it works. So I got that, and it came with some fans from Worley, which were absolute rubbish. So I swapped them out for, let me just get some light here, for some Aeroflow curved blade fans. I don't know if you guys can see that in there, but they're curved. They flow about what would you say, about I can't quite remember. I think it's about 2,900 CFM, cubic feet per minute, which is actually a little bit less than is what is recommended for most 2Js. So I'm running them off a Davies Craig fan controller here. So this lights up, and this controls both the thermos. You can set the temperature for when they come on, and then they will run until they drop. I think it's 5 degrees, and then it'll kick them off. It'll just get one fan going for a little while, and if it doesn't drop it, it'll kick in the second, and it'll keep going. The temperature pickup for that is an external pickup, so the temperature pickup is, you can't really see it anywhere here because it's got the shroud. The radiator did come with the shroud. It was only $150, which is really good. It's just a long rod that sits basically directly under the intake here through the fins, and it picks up the temperature, and then when it detects the temperature it's at, it'll kick the fans on and so on. This part here, the Defi gauge, I've got the Defi fitment for my water temperature gauge sitting in here. So it gives me the immediate temperature of the engine as it comes out of the engine, which is sort of the same as where the factory pickup is, the temperature pickup is on there for both the gauge and the Supra, the gauge and the ECU on the radiator neck. Yeah, so just had to fix the light there, sorry. When I was trying to fix the part of the heating issue, overheating issue, before I realised it was the head, I also replaced the thermostat with a Mishimoto, I think it's 68 degree thermostat, which made a big difference and really good. Helped warm up the car a lot quicker and that. But before I did that, I actually got an oil cooler. So I'll show you that. So I've just got a sandwich plate there, which you can just see on the base of the oil filter there. And that's actually the second one I've got. I've got a normal, just straight flow through sandwich plate that came with the oil cooler kit, but I had nothing but problems with it, and it was billet aluminium, but it leaked, and it was just a problem, and it took, in winter, a very long time for the engine to heat up. So I ended up replacing it with a Mokel sandwich plate, which has an inbuilt oil thermostat, which can basically keeps your oil at the perfect viscosity and temperature. And you can just see down the bottom those two black braided lines going down around the bend underneath the oil filter there, and then they travel along the bottom of the engine down here. So you've got an inlet and an outlet, and I've got the oil cooler just sitting in here, so I get some good airflow. So it's on a slight angle, but with the outlets on the bottom. So when I do an oil change, most of the oil should sit in the sump instead of up in the oil filter there. But it's pretty big, and yeah, it made an awesome difference. The car warms up quite quickly, and it really just loves to have an oil filter, especially on in a hot summer. The downside to having it over here is that the longer your lines are away from that, the outlet and inlet is behind the oil filter, you can actually be pushing more oil pressure through, so it makes your pump work a little bit harder. But I haven't had a problem with it being on this side. However, the downside is the cold air intake is here, and it gets its cold air from down there, so it gets quite a bit of warm air from the oil filter sitting underneath there. So I think what I'm going to do is just make a box with more heat shield that sits over this, and maybe remove this or block it off, and then run a dedicated pipe up into here, and just set it so it gets a bit more cold air from down in the wheel arch in front of the wheel, so I'm not getting so much hot air into the engine, especially on a hot summer day. So yeah, I do feel ideally that the cooling panel on here will definitely make a difference, especially with highway driving and just general street driving, because there's a lot of area for the air in front of the intercooler here that you can see down there where it comes in, just to come straight up and over instead of going through the radiator. So I might actually end up getting one of them anyway, and I mean, it'll make it look a bit better, but yeah, I haven't had a cooling issue yet. 2Js generally do like to run quite warm, so that's partially because of emissions, but even with all this cooling gear, it'll still want to just sit at about 90 degrees, 85, 90 degrees naturally, because the higher your combustion cylinder temperature is, the better of a burn you will get. It won't run quite as rich, and it'll actually be more fuel economic. So if your 2J's running at like 90 to 100, I wouldn't worry about it. It's only when they get over about 121, 122, you should consider upgrading your cooling quite a bit because, yeah, well, basically once you're past 116, you're going to be burning off coolant pretty quick because it's past its boiling point. But I mean, in the years I've owned this, I haven't had an issue with it running at 90 to 100 degrees on a hot day. So, and it's good on fuel. So I'm getting over 600 kilometers out of a 60-liter tank if I drive it like a normal person and do a bit of highway driving. So, yeah, it's not bad. You got to remember, the cooler it runs, the ECU also will adjust the factory ECU anyway, will adjust its tune, and it will run slightly richer and keep your idle higher until it gets up to 90 degrees. So if your 2J's running at 90 degrees, that's absolutely fine. Don't stress about it. You know, if you're even doing a track day and it's a bit of a cold day and it's running at 90 or 85, it's fine. It's totally fine. It's sort of when you're getting below probably 75 or so, if you're driving around with your factory ECU trying to give it a hard time, you're going to be chewing fuel like a champion. It's going to be running rich because it's going to it's trying to build that temperature to get it up to meet an emissions sort of regulation. So yeah, but basically that's all it's done to the cooling system. The front mount's just an eBay front mount. It came with the car. I don't know what brand it is. I don't even think it's branded. But it's quite large. It's from headlight to headlight and probably 60 mil thick, roughly, maybe a bit more, 65. But yeah, it's fine. So, and I mean, with a setup like this, you do need a bit of heat mitigation and control here. That's why I've got all this heat shield here. I will be putting more over the top of this and probably the air filter just to control the heat spreading through the engine. But yeah, it's not, I haven't had an issue in 4 years, 4 summers. Yeah, so I mean, if you're really pedantic, you could upgrade to. I could upgrade these to Spal fans, which are like $300 each, and I'm not really keen on doing that because these are only about $80 each, and they flow 200 or 300 cubic feet a minute less. So it's not a big deal. It doesn't overheat. Yeah, so I just thought I'd give you guys an idea of how this cooling system is set up and what to look for in your Supra or 2J equipped vehicle. Yeah, so thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned something. Future updates is I still haven't fixed the lip. I've got to service it still. I'm just getting this sorted out. So this one's on pause for a little bit. Got to do some things to this. I'll put that in another video later on. But yeah, sweet as. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.